Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 21. We're legal!
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my god, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life. All right. Sitting here with a bottle of beer. It's Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And I have coffee. Because I think that's all you guys think I drink is coffee. I have coffee and a water bottle.
Actually, technically, I also have coffee. But I have beer in spirit of it being the 21st episode.
Maybe we'll have some wine later to celebrate.
Excellent.
There you go. I'm more of a wine drinker.
Once again, for all those non-drinkers out there, this is a show actually about the weeds of getting through life as a small business owner. Whether you're online or offline, we have very many common issues, and this is a forum we like to talk about it a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And so if this is your first time listening, I'm Kristin Ingram. I'm here with my husband, Jeffrey Ingram. We own a small business together. We each have our own small business on the side. I'm a CPA and he works in IT.
Yes.
And so we are bringing our skills together to help you manage your business better.
That's like a good idea.
Doesn't it sound good?
This is like a wonderful idea.
I like it. So we start off each episode with what's in the news. And this week, we really want to delve into the article that Jeff found. So what article did you find?
All right. This is an article from ZNet, one of the places I like to get my tech news from. And essentially, this is Google Chrome gets ready to mark all HTTP sites as bad.
Okay, that can't be good.
That can't be good. And the first thing I want to start by saying is don't freak out and grab their credit card and go spend a lot of money at this point to get someone to upgrade your site to what they call an HTTPS site.
What is HTTP?
HTTP is essentially stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And it is essentially the way you get information from a site. So I always like to talk about a phone site as like a phone call. So, you put in the URL and what you're really doing is you're telling the server to send you something.
Right, to dial that number.
So
right,
it's dialing that number. And when the server receives that phone call, what it does is it sort of goes, okay, but instead of talking to you, what it says is, well, since you just navigated to this place, this is the information you want. So it transfers the HTML and everything that will come up through your browser back to the other computer.
Your computer.
To your computer, exactly. And it will actually, that's how your browser gets the information when you put in the URL as an HTTP transaction.
So what does the S at the end do?
The S, a lot of people think stands for security. And essentially there's it's really a separate protocol. It's built off the idea of HTTP, and it adds in this idea of what they call secure socket layers. And essentially
that's SSL, right?
That's SSL. SSL, essentially, what it adds to HTTP is the ability to distinguish who's making the request and who's receiving the request. It knows the difference between the two. And then what it does is it creates, for intents and non-technical purposes, let's say a tunnel between the two.
So it helps protect the information that's traveling back and forth.
Because essentially, if you were to email me what they call a clear message, a non-secure message, it would actually pass it in the clear. And if someone would actually just view the traffic as it went by, they would see the information you told me. And for a lot of purposes, it's not important. Like, hey, honey, do you want me to pick up milk? Of course I do, dear, because that's why I told you that before you went to work. Oh, thank you very much. And so that exchange will be red and clear, and you probably don't care. But other types of information should be more protected.
Like credit card information.
So for a long time, when you've gone to Amazon or wherever you go to buy things online, you go to this page, and at the beginning of it, if it displays it, which it won't in Chrome, it would say HTTPS, and you'll just see it distinguished in Chrome by a little green lock, and it will appear closed, and that means that there's what Chrome calls a valid certificate, and you should always be suspicious. And one of the things people will see now is if you go to an HTTPS site that does not have a valid certificate, it will have a big red X through it. If it's invalid, sometimes it will even pop open this very scary page that's like, the page you're going to could destroy your life. Don't go there.
Okay, well, that's not what it says. It usually says that the certificate does not match the registration.
Yes, I guess that's the other way of saying it.
Yes.
And
I'm just trying to help people out. So if they see this, they're like, wait, well, it doesn't say my computer's going to explode.
So essentially, you can actually even click on that lock and go into the details and actually view the certificate. So if you're in Gmail, it should tell you something like who it's issued to. You know, for Gmail, it would be mail.google.com, who was issued by the issuing authority. And those are the people who for a long time have made a lot of money from people and have made this a fairly complex problem for less technical individuals or people who don't have direct access to their servers, because the process is manual, unless you have a lot of money to put towards it. A certificate usually lasts for about a year and can cost anywhere from $9 to several $100s per year. And so there's an expense to it, but beyond that, then to have it connected to your site correctly. And truthfully, if you do a high-end site, you should then probably audit the site to ensure that there's true compliance throughout the site to help protect, especially like the billing information, the private information of individuals. But there's been more recently a push from a privacy standpoint to start encrypting more traffic from tech companies. And I personally think that's a good idea. One, if you have someone who's a fan, go to your site from China. China can actually look at exactly what they are viewing on your site and can make determinations on the good or badness of the person and possibly punish the person for even visiting your website. So it's one of those things where there's a growing concern. And we're also learning as we get further in, you need less and less information to actually figure out who someone specifically is. So the idea that you have anonymity anywhere on the internet is a joke. The websites know who you are. Just passing traffic back and forth. We know the NSA has been intercepting traffic and spying on it. And I'm pretty certain they're not the only foreign government to do such things. Or I guess they're not foreign to us, but so it's become more and more important to encrypt the traffic to help essentially protect your people, to help protect the privacy of them as they visit you.
And it gives them confidence too in your site. It shows that, it's like another level of dedication. So we've talked about, you want to make sure that your site is easy to navigate, that it looks good, that the content is good. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like another level to show that you're really in the game.
Yes.
So the thing Jeff said, don't panic, right? Because Google is going to eventually start penalizing people in the search engine if they don't have an SSL certificate. But you can equate this back to what Google did with mobile friendliness. A couple years ago, Google said, hey, we are going to start rewarding websites that are mobile friendly, that are truly mobile friendly.
That people can get to on multiple devices, and the pages aren't exceptionally slow.
Right. So then, Google announced that they were rewarding people. And then we saw last year that Google said, okay, we are now going to start penalizing people who are not mobile friendly.
Remember, people were referring to, I believe, as Mobilegeddon.
Mobilegeddon, right. So Google is doing the same thing here. Google is saying we are rewarding sites for having SSL certificates. And eventually, probably a couple of years down the road, they're going to start penalizing websites that don't.
Yes. They have not at this point said when they're going to start doing it. There are some screenshots of what it will look like in the article. It's the open red X through the padlock. Some people do notice this, and if you think your people are not tech savvy and that means they won't get this, you'd be shocked how many times we've gotten phone calls from my wife's clients or from family who have gotten something on the site and they don't know what it means, but it freaks them out.
And I think, we've trained, especially a lot of older people, to say, a site is secure if the lock is closed, if the lock is green. Mm-hmm. And so if they see a red X, they're going to start closing the site.
Yes.
Because we've trained them. If you know nothing else about security, know that if you see the padlock closed and the padlock is green, the site is secure.
Yes.
We had talked about the cost of this. There's a nonprofit organization that we absolutely love. They're called the Electronic Freedom Foundation. Woo-hoo. This is one of the charities that we actually give to in the, in full disclosure.
I feel bad. I'm wearing the wrong hoodie right now. I don't have my EFF hoodie on.
They are working on a project to make SSL free. Mm-hmm. And if you go to EFF.org, there are a number of hosting companies that are currently working.
Actually, there was a foundation created now. It was actually from some people from, I believe it was Firefox, and I know
Cisco's involved.
There are multiple people involved at this point, but it was started from some people who worked with Mozilla, the people who make the Firefox browser, if you've used that one. So don't think this is not just a Chrome browser concern. And essentially, EFF is working with them. It's called the Let's Build Foundation. And it's actually on their site, and I'll send Kristin a link of that, of the host and why they say the host, because this is very new information, but it's essentially the host that there's stuff that needs to happen on the server. And a lot of times you don't have that native permission in a shared hosting environment. And so the hosts have to work with you to be able to get it up. Some already have systems. I'm currently looking at one company, and I'll let you know more about that if I move over there and like them, they actually deal with all of the Let's Encrypt free 90-day renewable certificates. And there's a couple reasons to like that. Setting up certificates can be complicated. Just going through the process of getting the certificate is complicated. And
getting installed correctly.
If you get one that goes bad, that's when you get that really big bad page that says that this is a dangerous website, when it's probably not, but the security is definitely lapsed. So make sure, look at Let's Encrypt, because it will not only save you time, but it will save you money. And so far, the process seems to be working well, even though it's relatively new. It will help protect you. And for now, it will actually even give you an SEO bonus. So your search engine optimization will be a little better, because Google has started benefiting people who use SSL on their entire site.
Right. So we're going down this journey. We will give you updates as we're going through, because this is going to be an interesting process, because we have 3 major sites, and then I think we probably have 6 or 7 minor sites. I'm not saying about domains, because not all the domains have sites.
That's true.
He's laughing at me. So this process, we have to migrate over a lot of sites. So we're doing a lot of research on these companies. We've been with our host. We use HostGator right now. We've been with them for a long time. They are currently not on the list for this initiative.
And they've actually not even responded to requests for information from the Let's Encrypt Foundation, which I find horrific.
Okay. So, so we're looking at the list, we're doing our homework, and we will let you guys know what we come up with. Because this is going to be a major project, but it's something that we're committed to doing.
And probably what I'll do too is, as we start moving over, if I like them, I'll actually create some videos showing if there's anything special you need to do to worry about it, what you need to worry about.
Awesome. That's great. So don't panic. Okay. Right now, Google is rewarding sites that have SSL certificates. Of course, if you have e-commerce on your site or other member logins, you're going to want to have an SSL certificate.
Yes. And if you don't, you are actually creating a disservice for your customers and fans.
Right. So, so for now, if you just have a blog or, an information site, kind of like Small Biz Life or Accounting in Focus or guardduel.com, we're not selling anything on those sites, but we want to make sure that our customers are having the best user experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and we'll let you know, like if, when Google announces that drop dead date that you have to have this or else it's going to negatively affect your site, we will let you know as soon as we find out that date, because this is something that's on our radar.
Yes. And we'll call it SSL Mageddon because everything is a Mageddon now.
Of course. A Mageddon. At least it's not a gate.
I'm sure there will be a gate to follow the Mageddon.
I'm sure. I think there should be a gate to the Mageddon.
A gate to the Mageddon, yes. There might be one of those as well.
We'll let you know what we find. Okay, so this week's topic, we waited until the 21st episode to do this because you might need to drink after this episode. Yeah. We're going to be really transparent in this episode, and we're going to kind of share things with you that we don't typically share with other people other than each other. We're going to talk about fear today. Actually,
the real reason we waited so long was we were afraid to talk about this.
Yeah, that's true. Because fear is something that we all experience. Mm-hmm. It does not matter how put together somebody looks, how amazing their business is, how much revenue they're generating. There is always fear.
Yes, and it's not limited to your business. You have fears with your personal life. You have fears with every aspect of your life, because that is the thing that helps protect you in a way. Fear is a good thing. Fear is not something that you should fear, because fear is saying that there is something here that your body is not used to, your brain is not used to, and it's a way for you to warn yourself. It helps you survive. It's a survival learned trait. The problem is we allow this thing way too often to control us.
Well, and I think a lot of times too, I think that we disregard, like we don't recognize that it's fear. And so you just keep, you have all these, and this is going to sound weird, but you all have them. You have voices in your head, right? It is you telling, don't place Facebook ads. Don't work on this. Don't make video. Don't push your business. Don't go out in network, because it's not going to work, or it's going to fail, or you're going to look silly, or there are 50 people selling you their marketing programs that claim that they've never had to do it, and maybe they haven't, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. Right. And so those suggestions, those voices in your head, and we all have them. Mm-hmm. I have them. Jeff has them. Every client I've ever worked with has them.
And we know a lot of our fans also like John Acuff and have read Start and know that they have them too.
That's right. And if you haven't read Start, now is the time, especially if this topic is resonating with you. You need to read Start. And I'm going to put it in the show notes. And if you buy it through our link, you can help support the show.
And also, there are two ways that will resonate with you. One, you're going to sit there and go, oh, wow, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, that I do have that fear voice in my head. And the other way is going to be, yeah, whatever. No fear. That's stupid. That was my initial response. Yeah, right.
And then you thought about it for 5 minutes and went, oh, crap. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then you read on and he, through his examples and his fears, you learn a few of the different ways the voices pop up and you go, well, maybe that was fear for him, but not for me.
And so the reason that I'm particularly thinking about this right now is that I might be clearing up a lot of time in my schedule next fall. Mm-hmm. I may not be teaching next fall. So if that is the case, then a lot of the excuses that I use, because fear and excuses, they go hand in hand. Okay. They're best bud. They're battle buddies.
That's a serious term not to be made fun of.
Okay. So fear and excuses, they're real good friends and they work together. And so one of my big excuses has been, well, I don't have time, right? I don't have enough time to grow the online part of my business as much as I should because I'm teaching and tax season.
Feeding me.
And feeding Jeffrey, which is very important. My life might be changing next fall.
Yeah.
And I might have a lot more time. And that scares the bejesus out of me. Because that excuse will be gone. And frankly, when I look at my phone, okay, I play Farm Hero Saga, okay? It's one of my things.
One of her bubble games.
He calls them my bubble games. I'm on like 900, level 900 something in that game. So for me to say like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
That's fear, right? That's fear coming out and saying, well, you could grow this, you could put your neck out there, or you could just play another level of the bubble game.
Well, we know it's won 909 times.
Yes. Yes. And playing levels many, many times to beat them. So fear is present in all of us.
Yeah. And
sometimes we say it's time. Sometimes we say it's money. Sometimes, one of the things that gets me, because, for me to grow the business, I've got to do more video. And in July, I hurt my back. Since I hurt my back in July, I've gained 13 pounds. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not really thrilled with the way I look. And so the fear sits there, and the fear is like, you're going to go on video looking like that?
You're gorgeous.
I love you. You're awesome. So but that's another thing, right? They're like, well, when I lose, those 13 pounds, then I can start doing video, right? So sometimes fear shows itself by saying, well, I'll do this. Once I do this, then I'll start. Once my kids get a little bit older, then I'll start doing this. Or once we pay off some more debt, then I'll do this.
Or if I can get my spouse on board with my idea, then I will start my idea.
Right. Once I can get my family to support me or my spouse to support me, then I'll do it. Right? So fear can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. So talk a little bit about how fear manifests for you.
Oh, I have no fear. Okay. Now that I've done my line for the episode.
You're a writer and you lie.
I'm a fiction writer and I lie. Yes, that is my quote from my other show that I do dearly love. Which is funny that for those of you who do not know, my small business is I'm a fantasy writer, and I have another podcast where I talk about how to fantasy world build, and I really love that kind of stuff. And there's this thing in fantasy that really, at least according to Dr. David E. Jones, is a symbol of fear in humanity, and it's dragons. Dragons have existed throughout time. Or at least recorded time. And he, in the book called An Instinct for a Dragon, makes the claim that it is this inborn fear that animals have to be eaten. And all animals have the fear of being killed. The lions, everyone. You want to see a lion freak out? Watch lions and elephants interact. They don't like each other. Lions will try and take down young elephants and kill them. And older elephants don't forget that, and so they don't get along well with lions. And so every critter, if you have a cat, people will say, oh, your cat's squeamish. That's its inner defense, its fear of being killed, that's turning on, which cats are really funny because you'll see the super predator side of them for, so long, and then they'll, something will flip a switch, and they will turn into, I'm running for my life, because especially domestic house cats are small now. So, big dogs, coyotes, these things could really hurt them. And
humans they don't know.
Or creepy guys. And but there's this idea that dragons were so real. They've shown up in cultures on every continent before they really interacted in a modern communications level. You have sea dragons, you have air dragons, you have dragon gods, you have dragons being killed by George, you have snakes being driven off of Ireland by St. Patrick. It was so believable that even early on, when humans first started doing what we call modern science, this idea of observable science, things that you can observe or be able to make predictions and then observe them and move forward from there. Dragons were believed they must have existed. They're obviously gone now, but they must have existed. And the simple fact was, there's been no scientific evidence yet of anything ever resembling a dragon on this planet. And it's this one man, Dr. Jones, who believes it's actually the human fear of being killed by a larger predator. And I don't know if it's even fair to push under larger predators, but a fear of being killed by another predator that manifested itself in early mythology and folklore that has transitioned into this idea of a dragon all over the world. And so one that shows you the power of fear and how it builds into ourselves. It's part of the way your brain operates. And like I said, you have to listen to fear when it comes about, but then you have to really look at it. For me, there's been a lot of stress, not with Kristin and I, but, there's been some family stress, which really does take a lot out of me. I do care deeply about my family, but it turns into a fear that, there's going to be something else. And it sort of sucks the life out of you. And you're like, well, I don't have the energy to do this right now.
And you hurt your knee.
And I hurt my knee. And now I'm dealing with the VA, which that frightens the bejesus out of me, being labeled a disabled person. There are a lot of fears that creep into my mind, especially around those two topics. I've had this inbred fear since I was in the service. And to sum it up quickly, when I joined the service, I went into what they call delayed entry program. Delayed entry program is where I was a junior in high school, so I couldn't go in, but I just said, hey, when I graduate, I'll go into the service. And so I knew essentially well over a year before I went into the service, when my basic training date was, I knew what unit I was going to be assigned to in the Army. There were a lot of things I knew, and I was going to be in a scout platoon for an infantry division or an infantry unit in an armor division in Europe. And I knew this for over a year before I went in. To the point when I went to basic, I even had my division patch, which a lot of people don't have in basic because you don't know who you're going to get assigned to. And so I go through basic training. I get assigned to, this unit. As soon as I get in, I bear the patch of, I believe it was First Armor, but my brain is old, so I don't know if that's true. It was Patton's old armor division, the one where the patch goes over the heart. And the reason why I don't remember is because I never actually got assigned to them because, well, government's involved, not necessarily great planners. By the time I got to Germany, they're like, hold on, you're not going there. We're sending you over to be a divisional scout in the 3rd Infantry Division. Okay. Means nothing to me. Until after the first Gulf War when I come home and I watch a scout platoon on television get shot and killed by a U.S. Army colonel in an attack helicopter. And I've always had this fear from then that I will outlive everyone I love, no matter what I do. And people who know me might not think I have the healthiest lifestyle, but my body's never punished me for that yet. But it's always been a fear that has dwelled deep inside of me, that everyone I love will die before me, and I will be sort of left here forever in my own brain. And obviously, I don't have a great sense of fear of death if I volunteer to join a combat arms unit, but so
it wasn't like on the battlefield. It was like your life expectancy was 9 seconds or something.
Well, that was back in the Cold War when I first joined in, and they told us that the life expectancy of a scout in a war with the Soviet Union was 19 seconds.
19.
And part of that was because the base I lived on was within artillery range of the Russians. There was a Russian tank army who was assigned to destroy my division if the war ever started. So yeah, but that never really bothered me.
So that's interesting. So I would imagine that the cancer scare really
wrecked me because I thought for sure you were going to die.
Yeah, I had Hodgkin's lymphoma back in 2006, which is part of the reason that I started my business because, I was 26 years old and my doctor said, okay, you're going to beat this cancer and it's going to be fine. But one of the triggers for this is type A personality and high stress. And those of you who know me know I'm pretty type A, just a bit. And I'm not nearly as bad as I used to be.
No.
I've mellowed out a lot. But he said, you can't go back and do that. And again, you can't work, at a CPA firm. You've got to dial down your stress. And that's what catapulted me into starting my own firm, teaching, and then eventually doing all this online.
Yeah, most definitely. And honestly, we had just started to figure out that we were going the wrong way in life anyway. I worked for UPS at the time, and where I learned some very valuable skills from them, it was causing harm in our relationship. And so to top it off, as I had just left my job, and the person I was supposed to go into a partnership decided not to go along. And so I had lost the help I was going to get in part of my opening business plan. And we lost a lot of money over a year until I started getting solid work that, was good money. It took a lot longer because my plan on how to succeed was snatched from me. Basically, because I started early and probably because of fear on their part, and it's nothing against them. I'm sure he made the right choice for his life. That's not the point. But the point was, it was a shock to me because I was expecting a whole different path into how to make money, and it did not come about. And so I had that on top of the financial burden of going, I'm losing money on top of my wife being sick. And which kind of led me to the job I'm in now, which was more, I needed something consistent with benefits to help pay for my wife's healthcare, because once you get hit with the cancer card, it's very hard to get insured.
Yeah. And we've been really lucky that you had that opportunity to get that job, and they have phenomenal benefits. And so that has helped tremendously.
Yeah.
But, all through that, we have experienced fear, fear of, losing the other person, fear that, you've had knee injuries, I've had back problems, fear of how is that going to affect what we're doing going forward, fear of, putting your book out there, putting your product out there, and showing that to the world. And then what happens if the world doesn't like it, doesn't want it, or even worse than that you get ridiculed for it.
Yeah. And I think that's really the bigger fear. Well, if no one notices it, well, there's so many authors, you can write that one off. But if, there are 8,000 one-star reviews on Amazon, you're going to feel like a jerk. And where I don't think that will necessarily happen, it still plays in your brain. And, one of the biggest things I was actually proud of myself for, which is not something that happens very often, was when I launched my podcast, the first one, and this one too, but more so for me, the first one, because that was the first time I really put myself out there. And I had owned the domain we had bought that when we lived in the apartment together.
Yeah.
Gardual.com. And sat on it for years. And I had put stuff up, and then I took stuff down, and then I'm going to redo it this way. And I have to have everything up there, and my world is immense.
You'll never get it all.
I'll never get it all up there. And so now the strategy really is, as I release material, kind of really think out that part of the world and share the parts of the world that I have companion books to go along with.
And I think that's really important, is that it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fear that some people have is that, we talk about those excuses, right? And one of them is, well, if I just edit it again, or if I, revise it again, it has to be perfect before it goes out.
And trust me, our podcast, especially my initial one when I first started, far from perfect. And actually, I probably wasted a lot more time editing, trying to get it to perfection when I first started than I do now. And the reason is, if the content is good, it's more important than perfect content. The thing is, where you should question yourself is if your content is not good. And that's usually more when you're trying to make money because you think like that would be me if I was trying to be a thought leader for how to make it online. It would be because I see so many people making so much money doing that. And where there are some who I know are very successful at doing it, most of these guys, I have no idea who they are. And they sell some variation of how to make it online, and they have a good spiel, or usually they have a good spiel. Some don't, but they probably won't be at it for very long. But really, all of the people who are very successful have a couple things that they do in common. They get their content out there. Some people, like Michael Hyatt, don't do anything more than a cursory edit of their material before he even launches it. One, because he's probably confident in his writing skills enough to go, hey, it's going to be pretty good. And two, if someone, says, hey, you forgot a comma or you screwed this up here, he just fixes it.
Yeah. That's the wonderful thing about the digital age is that if you screw something up, like say there's a typo in your ebook,
mm-hmm.
you change it and you upload a new file.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's in a print book, a lot of people I know are printing through CreateSpace
or Ingram Spark.
Right. You make the change and you upload the new version. And then the next time and they're printing on demand. So when the next time they print it, it's fixed.
Yeah.
If you put out an ad campaign on Facebook and you spend $10 to promote your blog or your YouTube channel or your podcast, and, the ad doesn't work, it doesn't mean that your content's not good.
Yeah.
It just means that ad didn't work.
Yeah.
So redo the ad and try again.
Or, writing books is a great analogy towards this, and it's the forever editing phase. And I think this is probably, there are two big hurdles I see for writers. And the first hurdle for me ended up not being much of a hurdle, which was writing the book. My first draft I wrote, and it took me a little bit of time, but, it's been written for a couple years. And at least. And I sat and did nothing with it for years. And my wife knew it was sitting there. And I knew it was sitting there. And we both just kind of let it sit there until she read Start and made me read Start. And I started really trying to do something with it. But then you get into this next phase of editing. Editing is probably the more dangerous fear. And this is something, probably world builders should worry about too, because you can get stuck in it for world building as well if you do that, which is this idea of, You will never get all of the storylines you want in there. Even if it's a 255 bajillion page book, there's always one more storyline that would make it better. There's one more word you can drop out of the book that would just make the book so much better. And at some point, you have to sit there and go, this is the book I'm launching. And I'm even kind of stuck there now where I really didn't do beta readers because I did get burned out during the process when the book was in editing, and I didn't send it out to my beta readers that I wanted to. And, heck, for a while I wasn't even going to get a book cover because I didn't want to deal with artists. I was frustrated with everything at that point. And
we do have a cover now.
Yes, we have a gorgeous cover, which I will be revealing to my secret newsletter. But the thing was that, at this point, it's been through three rounds of editing. There's a few touch-ups that I've been sitting on for the better part of a month now. And I've done quite a bit of it, but the last things I had to really think about, I've been sitting on some of them. And the biggest thing I have to be able to do is sit there and go, when is the point I launch this? And maybe I do send it out to beta readers, which I probably should, because the more people who read it ahead of time, some of it will verify what the editor's saying. Sometimes, you don't reveal stuff because you're not ready to in the book. And you have to be willing to go against everyone at those points as well, too. And go, no, this isn't the point for this. This is a point of the sequel, or this is something that I want the readers to be left wondering about. But if it ends up frustrating and annoying all of your beta readers and the editor, you have to question, are you doing it well enough?
Right.
So, but, it's you could have, 100,000 revisions of your first book, and it will never be perfect.
Right. And at some point, you've got to upload that file. So when you're trying to decide if something is fear, typically, John talks about in his book that fear usually speaks in absolutes. No one will read your blog. No one will read your book. Everyone will think that you're stupid. No one will watch your videos.
Mm-hmm.
No one will buy your course. When you start to kind of have those thoughts go through your brain, John recommends going through and writing down what you're thinking about and then refuting it.
Mm-hmm.
When we're going through the podcast, I have this thing, I'm like, well, no one's going to listen to the podcast. And I'm like, you know what? I know people are listening to the podcast.
Yes, our community talks about our podcast.
Right. The community talks about the podcast. I can see the download numbers. People leave reviews. I know that people appreciate the podcast. Your message, your product, is needed. My friend Kevin Buchanan says the world needs your hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm so proud of Kevin. Shout out to Kevin, because his book is in pre-order right now.
Oh, awesome. I didn't even see it that.
His book is coming out at the end of this month. You can go to theworldneedsyourhustle.com and you can pre-order Kevin's book. He's like one of the best motivators I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, putting out a book, right? It's a struggle,
mm-hmm.
right? We just talked about that. But write down those fears and address them.
Mm-hmm.
And it may just be, no one will ever pay for my services.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people have paid for that in the past, right? It might not have been formal,
mm-hmm.
right? But you've helped people in the past. And so, address those fears. Don't just write them off and say, this is irrational and I'm being stupid. Don't do that. Okay. Because then you're not addressing the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of burying the problem. And then when you get really frustrated because things aren't going the way you want them to, all those fears start flooding back into your mind. And so, if you have a place where you can write those down and refute them, it's kind of the same premise when, a lot of small business owners have this problem that when they try to go to sleep, they have all these ideas that flood into their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can't fall asleep because their brain is going. And so when that happens to people, I recommend, have a notebook by your bed, write down what you thought,
mm-hmm.
get it out of your mind, and then go to sleep. And typically, for a lot of people, that works.
Mm-hmm.
Fear is the same thing. You've got to get it out of your mind. You have to address it. And I recommend writing it down because, then when those things start to flood back, you can go back and you can read that,
mm-hmm.
Read through those.
And sometimes you might come to valid points from your fear, and you say, oh, the fear, no one will pay attention to me. Well, if your plan was to, share it out to your family and hope your book goes viral once it's launched, you're probably right. I mean, probably very few people will ever find you. So when you're addressing your fears and you come across something that you think might be valid, and this is easy to say, you have to address it rationally. And you almost need someone else to ring it off against. This is why, to me, one of the very good reasons for masterminds, because it's tougher with family even when you trust them because they have a certain faith or lack of faith in you and your ideas that are emotionally based as well, as much as you do, because they're tied much closer to the success of it. use your masterminds. If you're in groups like 30 Days of Hustle or Dreamers and Builders or any of these wonderful internet groups, Smart Passive Income.
Or the Small Biz Life community.
The Small Biz Life community. That's my favorite. Coffee Talk with Ronee. Go to your communities. These people know you maybe a little bit, and there's probably, if they're a bigger one, there might be a whole bunch of them that don't know you. It's very easy to be rational with other people's problems. I know a lot of people love when Kristin brainstorms with them because she will come up with a lot of great ideas for them. And it's so much easier for someone like Kristin, who does have a great brain for it, to do it for you than it is for her to do it for me or for herself. Mm-hmm. And that's not a hit against her. That's reality. That's life. When you can make a rational, look at rational evidence and sit there and go, well, Jeffrey, you think no one's going to find your book, but you haven't built a website. You have no marketing ideas for your book. Heck, you don't even have a book to release. You're probably right. They're probably not going to find your book. But that's rational things. They're easier to get to those types of things when it's someone who doesn't have a lot of emotion, or they don't have the risk that you have. And they can help you go, well, maybe we need to work on the marketing for this, because sometimes, you get to a point where you're ready to launch and you want to jump off that cliff, and you're really not ready because your marketing sucks and you haven't spent the time you should have there, and you're going to jump and you're going to validate your fear in the future, because at that point you're frustrated. You just want to do it. Right.
And self-sabotage is a huge piece of that.
Yeah.
That you're a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, that's right. Before you launch, it's like if you're an author, they say you should have beta readers, especially if you self-edit your books, which I would not recommend doing that either, because the more people who can look at it, the better. But, have beta people go to your site, people who they might not even be your avatar, but they can look at it with a critical eye. You need to know your avatar, and you need people to critique your stuff, and you have to be able to listen to it.
It's also good sometimes to get advice from people who are outside your business, because they'll help you think of things that you wouldn't have thought of. And it's funny that, Jeff mentioned, how it's really easy to help advise other people. When you have trouble doing that for yourself, that's fear.
Yeah.
Right. I can sit down, like, I know what I'm supposed to do for my business, right? Because it's all the same advice that I give to all my clients. It's just me sitting down and doing it. The fear comes up, right? My tip of the week this week, I want you to do something that puts you outside your comfort zone. If you don't like to network, I want you in the next couple weeks to go to a networking event. Even if it's, go to a Toastmasters meeting if you want to be a better speaker. Go to a local chamber event, if you want to meet new people and talk about your business. Find somewhere that you can go and network with people. Maybe you've always wanted to run a Facebook ad to promote your site. Do that within the next 2 weeks. Maybe you've always wanted to try Periscope, or you want to get on Instagram. Try something in the next 2 weeks to help get you out of your comfort zone. Because the only way that you are going to grow and you're going to succeed is if you can acknowledge your fears, address them, and push forward. Okay, my app of this week. So I told you guys that I had gained 13 pounds since July. And I'm happy to report that in the last week, I've lost 3 pounds. And that is because of MyFitnessPal. This is a site that I know a lot of people have probably downloaded. Maybe you're not, using it currently. Since the last time I used it, they've done a lot of updates to the app. But basically, if you don't know what MyFitnessPal is, it is a food tracking and fitness tracking app. You can put in your height and your weight and what your goal is, and it will help you set a reasonable goal for each week. It will, you can put in your exercise, you can put in all the foods that you eat. It has a great food database. It will actually let you create your own recipes and put them in. We actually used that last night. I made I made baked pasta with chicken sausage and mushrooms and peppers and onions. And I went through, I put everything in. It told me that it was less than 400 calories per serving, which was awesome. The wine I drink is even in the database. It's fantastic. So, you scan the barcode, the item comes up, it has all the nutritional information. It is fantastic. Even a lot of restaurant food is in there. So if you go to like a chain restaurant, typically they will, their menu is all in there. So it's fantastic. It's great. So far this week, I've lost 3 pounds. I'm tracking all my food. It makes it really easy. I can track my exercise and my activity. If you have a Fitbit, it'll integrate with it. A lot of the other fitness trackers will integrate with this. It's awesome. And it's free. Especially for me that I do a lot of cooking from scratch. This is a really great app to use to kind of, put your favorite family recipes in and see what the nutritional value of them would be, and then add them to your meals.
And one of the things she told me I thought was kind of neat with it is she'll notice in the evening that she needs more iron because of what she's eaten, because of, the nutritional value in the application. So she will look for stuff with iron to add in the meal, or it could be other kinds of things. And one last thought, from Kristin's description, she said chicken sausage. And I'm not a huge person where I care much about the health values of food. I care about flavor. And I will eat things that are healthy as long as they taste good to me. And one of the problems I have with sausage in particular, do not serve people turkey sausage that's supposed to replace pork sausage. It's horrific. Chicken sausage is good because it doesn't try and be pork sausage. Turkey sausage might be able to be good, but when it's trying to mimic pork sausage, it cannot be. It's not pork. If you don't want to eat pork sausage, fine. Find something else that you like that tastes good to you that replaces it. And if you happen to like turkey sausage, just fine. Just realize it's not a replacement for pork sausage.
I like turkey sausage.
I'm not saying you can't like it. I'm saying it's not a replacement for pork sausage.
And this episode brought to you by the Midwest Values Council.
And never put it in sausage gravy. That would be wrong.
I would never put turkey sausage in sausage gravy. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. It was a little crazy this week. I know. But, I thought it was really important because I know that a lot of you have fears, and people come to me and they say, you're so confident. You're so organized.
And she is.
How do you do it? And I have fears just like you do. We both do. I was listening to Brendan Bouchard's trainings that he's been doing over the last couple days, which were just phenomenal. And he even said, he's like, I still experience fear, and his business is wildly successful. He regularly sells online courses that, sell millions of dollars worth of subscriptions. He has sold out conferences that he does. He has millions of people. He has 10 million people who follow him across his social media channels. He's wildly successful, and he still experiences fear. We all have it. It's not just you. And so that's why we wanted to do this episode, is to kind of help you realize that you're not alone. If you feel like you're alone, if you feel like you don't have community, go on to Facebook and search for the Small Biz Life community. You'll see that, our logo is the icon. We have a phenomenal group of people who support each other, who encourage each other.
Amazing.
Who help each other deal with, problems and fears. If you're looking for community for your, in your small business, join the group.
Yes. And like you said, it's not Kristin and I helping everyone. And we do help people when we can. But it's just amazing the number of bright people who are in that group who not only have the knowledge, they have the desire to help people as well. It's really our early community we've been very blessed with good people.
Yes, absolutely. If you're looking for ways to help spread the message, if you know small business owners that are experiencing fear, please share this episode with them. review us.
Which, according to what you just said, is everyone you know.
All right, it's everyone you know. So just share it with everybody. If you like what we're doing with the podcast, please go on to iTunes and rate and review the show. It helps people find us. It helps our rankings. If you want to financially support the show, the best way for you to do that is to use our Amazon link. You can go to smallbizlife.com/Amazon. You do your shopping through Amazon. It doesn't cost you anything, but they send us a small percentage to say thank you for sending us traffic. You can bookmark that link so that you don't even have to think about it. You click on your Amazon bookmark and you're going to support us every time.
Which is awesome.
Thank you so much for listening today, for allowing us to be real with you guys and to share our stories with you. Give us some feedback on this episode. Let us know what you think. You can comment on the show notes. You can comment in the Small Biz Life community. We're here for you. We are here to help you on your journey. And if there's anything that we can do to help, please reach out.
And if you ever want someone rational to talk over with, Kristin's great. If you want someone semi-rational, that would be me. I will probably work in world building somehow to your problem, though. It's just the way I work.
Probably. Guys, have a great week. Thank you for listening to Small Biz Life. If you enjoyed the show, please take a few minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher. Please visit smallbizlife.com to view today's show notes, take this week's poll, join the Facebook community, follow us on Twitter, or submit a question for the mailbag. Support the show by checking the resources page or by going to smallbizlife.com/Amazon whenever you shop.
This was Small Biz Life. This was Small Biz Life.